Hello, today on the Bioanxiety podcast, we have the awesome Amina, who is currently a compliance officer here in New York. You went to school in Princeton, right, and studied politics,
Yes.
which is like completely different than what you're doing. But yeah, I'm gonna let you talk because this is your story.
So I went to Princeton initially as a physics major. I was really into physics. I took a few courses in politics and realized that I actually liked that a bunch more. And I kind of felt like I came from a low income background. So getting into Princeton, and Princeton offers really great financial aid, so I had a full ride. I felt like, okay, I got to do something that feels very intellectual and I need to make a lot of money because this is my chance. And I really liked physics, but I didn't feel that soul connection as like, wow, these classes just speak to me. Not to say that everyone needs to do that. When I started to take politics classes, I really felt that, and I started to take ethics courses taught by law professors, and I always wanted to be a lawyer, and it came back. Like, I need to do politics, and then I want to go to law school. That has not happened yet. I still want to go to law school. But after graduation, I ended up going and working in a fintech company. And then more recently, I work in a private equity firm, which I'm really happy with. But there was always, you can't help but have times where you have sort of self-doubt. Was this the right move? Am I doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing? That sort of thing.
So, how come you didn't go to law school straight after school, after finishing undergrad, right?
Yeah. So for financial reasons, there's really good financial aid for undergrad at certain universities, but they didn't have that as built out right after I graduated. Now stuff is progressing, but I didn't feel comfortable taking on a bunch of debt without having any savings and no sort of plan. And I thought, you know what, let me enter the workforce. Let me see if this is really what I want to do. And now, after having a few years of work experience, I do feel like that's what I want to do. And I feel more prepared to take on the risk. Because when you grow up poor, debt is such a scary thing to you. So it's like, oh my gosh, I managed to avoid any student loans. Do I really want to cripple myself? And then I'm going to be poor. I'm going to be poor forever. And, that just, it can be a mindset that holds you back from taking risks.
Yeah, no, I understand because I actually grew up extremely poor as well. So by the time I actually ended up in college, I was 26 and I had to pay for it myself. So I completely understand because you're like, oh my God, like all this debt, or like, what am I going to do? How am I going to pay my bills, right? Like, how are you going to survive? So yeah, how was that? How was it? What was your path like to get into Princeton, right? Like, because you said like you didn't grow up with a lot of resources. Was that like your top choice? How did you go about picking schools? Like, what was that process like?
So it's always a combination of effort and luck. And I had a lot of luck. I had teachers that poured a lot into me. So teachers thought that, I had a real chance at doing well. So I had teachers pay for me to take certain extra tests. And then a relative actually found out about this scholarship for first generation low income students to go and spend the summer at Princeton as a high schooler, taking classes and getting college access counseling. So I applied for the scholarship. I received the scholarship, and I spent 8 weeks at Princeton as a rising senior in high school. And I really loved the campus. It was beautiful. And I got the access to test prep, and they paid for my applications. So they helped counsel me regarding what schools to apply to. They told you to apply to some reach schools, so that was Harvard and Princeton, Brown, Ivy Leagues. And then you had challenging schools, and then you had likely schools. So I applied to a list of 10 schools that they paid for, and Princeton was my top choice. And So I visited a bunch of schools, but Princeton was still the one I really wanted to go to because I felt like it was something that was familiar. I already had good memories. I had people that I knew going into my first year. So for me, it was kind of an easy pick. And at the time, as I said, I wanted to do physics. And some of the theoretical physics that I was interested in at the time, the guy that kind of created the idea went to Princeton. So I was like, oh, cool.
Oh, that's amazing. I did not know that. Wait, who's the guy?
Hugh Everett. So many worlds theories.
Yeah.
He is the guy that came up with that, and he went to Princeton.
That's amazing. Like, it's an amazing story, right? Because it's hard, like, to get into such amazing schools, especially like if you have low income. But that's awesome. That's promising. I actually don't know like about these programs. Like, what if somebody wants to take this path? Like, what would you advise is like the first step that they should take?
If they want to try to get into an Ivy League?
Yeah, just in general, like a good school.
A good school. So what you said is very true. There is not a ton of press around the resources that are available. Definitely there's greater need than there are resources, but there are so many resources that people just have never heard about. So look into scholarships. Don't let money be a deciding factor because frankly, going to Princeton was probably the most affordable decision I could have made because they're totally need blind. They offer you 100% of your financial need. So my family had no money. I actually got money going to Princeton because I got the Gates scholarship as well. So they paid for my work study. So it was by far the best financial decision for me. And I also wanted to go there. But look into the different resources. There's Gates Scholarship, I believe, has wound down now, but there's Jack Kent Cooke Scholarship. A lot of the major brands have scholarships, like their Coke scholarships, there's Dell scholarships, even low dollar amounts. If you apply to 10 scholarships and you get in, even if it's, $2,000 or $5,000, of course that adds up, and that can alleviate a big financial burden. And then also look at affinity scholarships. So since they have made it, they've made a prohibition on affirmative action, a lot of individual groups have taken steps to create affinity scholarships. So if you belong to a minority group, be it ethnic or racial or religious, look into that and see what scholarships are available. And of course, make sure that you're doing well in school, make sure that you're thinking about your future in terms of the grades that you're getting, your extracurriculars, that sort of thing.
Wait, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Illinois.
Okay, I thought you were you're like Chicago area,
Yeah.
right? Okay, that's what I thought. So I remember you telling me, like, I was like imagining this. So once you graduated and you decided to go out into the world and start a career, like how was that? How did you go about like looking for roles? What were you looking for in a role? Like what did you have in mind? Like what did you want to do?
So I graduated in 2020 during COVID.
Wow.
So it was actually a very stressful time because one of the benefits of Princeton is the assumption that I'm not going to have to worry about my career. I have a network that's going to take care of me. And a lot of my peers were having their offers rescinded. And it was quite a stressful time. So because I had a stronger inclination towards the law, I had received an offer at a fintech firm, but had planned that I was going to pivot or apply to other places to see if I could find something that more aligned with my interests. And I couldn't. I was so grateful I had that role in the back pocket because there was just a hiring freeze. People were not trying to get entry level, first year type students or graduates. And of course, there was just an atmosphere of uncertainty. And you can't help but compare yourself to your very wealthy, well-connected classmates. And then I saw even those people were having offers rescinded. So I was thinking, oh
Wow.
my gosh, I don't have a chance if those guys are. Oh, did I turn it off? Oh no. If those guys are having a hard time, I'm screwed. So I was really glad to have the job offer that I had, and it ended up being a good experience. I ended up learning some really important soft skills. I got introduction to an industry that I otherwise wouldn't have been in, but you do have in the back of your mind, um, was this what I was supposed to do? And then, eventually there is an unfreeze and all the people, the jobs are actually back on the table. And then it's, "Oh, crap, should I have made a change? Should I have applied to places? Did I sit back when I should have kept going?" But everything happens for a reason. It was the right move for me. I was able to get a good experience there. So
So now you're at a different company. When did you decide it was time to like switch careers? Like what led to that?
So when I was at my previous role, it was a fintech company. So I tried to fit myself in the tech box because it felt like the thing to do, and it felt like the smart thing to be, to be tech savvy. But again, it wasn't. It wasn't what spoke to me. It wasn't what I felt inclined to being. It was again me kind of imposing an ideal on myself. So I reached out to friends of mine from Princeton, people I graduated with, and just told them how I was feeling. And they knew that I want to be a lawyer. And so a friend of mine was actually applying to go to law school and had gotten in to Fordham in the city. And she was in the process of leaving compliance. And she said, "Well, have you considered compliance? Because you're going to work with a bunch of lawyers, you're going to get a lot of exposure to things that are going to help build you up. You decide to continue down this legal dream of yours." And I had never even really heard of compliance. It didn't mean anything to me. It didn't register as something. But she said, a recruiter reached out to me to see if I wanted this opportunity. I can connect you. So I said, yeah, please do. And I started to look at it. I went to some career networking events that were risk and compliance based, spoke to people in the industry, and I found my current role, and I love it. My boss is a lawyer. Another one of my coworkers is a lawyer. We work with the legal team a lot. So I am constantly getting exposure to things, and my boss knows that's what I want to do and supports it. So I say, I really want to get more exposure with policy writing. He's like, okay, take a stab at rewriting this policy. And he'll also critique, like, hey, when it comes to legal writing, you need to make sure that you're paying attention to the precise definition of words, rethink this, and just stuff that otherwise I wouldn't get exposure to, and are not things that are intuitive. It's not stuff that you think about when writing, but he'll point it out because he knows that's what I want to do.
That's amazing that you have so much support. I mean, law school sounds. I grew up wanting to be a divorce lawyer.
Oh my God.
I mean, serious. Yeah, I literally the last podcast episode, my friend Anastasia I interviewed her. She's a lawyer, and yeah, I grew up wanting to be this. Can you imagine? All the couples would just be getting back together. So I'd be like, "Have you thought about?" It would be like, "But just remember what it was like when you first fell in love." So yeah, I would not do great. So yeah, so what's next? Like,
Next,
what's your dream law school? Tell me.
dream law school? I want to go back to Illinois. Dream law school.
No.
Dream law school would take me back to Illinois. Northwestern would be the dream. That's the goal. But we'll see. My husband's in the city, so we'll look at some stuff here. We'll look at some stuff there.
NYU Law is right here.
Yeah. We'll see what pans out.
That's awesome. And I guess that's like one final question that I like to ask. What is one piece of advice you would give your younger self?
Understand that it can be the right move to take slower route. Not everything has to be immediate. It's okay to enjoy. It's okay to take detours and enjoy those detours, and extend those detours if I want to. Because, I mean, right now my goal is law school, but I think I'll be fine if I end up becoming a lawyer in 5 years and I say, you know what, time to do something else. That's fine too. I don't want to be married to any idea, and if I'm married to an idea, divorce is still an option. So take it slow, take it easy, and the things happen in their due time and as the way they're supposed to happen.
That's some really good advice. Well, thank you so much for doing this, and thank you for sharing about like all the resources of financial aid and grants that there are. And yeah, it's gonna help a lot of people. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.